became a familiar sight in the Calcutta streets. Abai comprehended the sufferings of famine through the teachings he had heard from Srila Bhaktisiddhanta. By God's arrangement, the earth could produce enough food. The trouble was man's greed and mismanagement. There is no scarcity in the world, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati had said. The only scarcity is of Krishna consciousness. Now, more than ever, this spiritual vision seemed relevant, and Abai grew anxious for a way to apply what he knew to be the remedy for all ills. Convinced that he had an urgent message for the war-weary citizens of the world, he considered starting a publication that would present the world's crisis through the eyes of the scripture in the same bold style as had his spiritual master. There was no shortage of ideas, and he had been saving money from his business for this very purpose. His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 6, Chapter 1. Is it 43? Text 43. Kasya va kuta ayata kasya va kasmad asya nishedata kasmad asya nishedata kim deva upadeva ya kim deva upadeva ya Shikhodeta Mahaprabhu Shiki Jai Yuyam Kim Siddha Satama Yuyam Kim Siddha Satama Kasyavakuta Ayata Kasmadasya Nishedata Kim Deva Upadevaya Yuyam Kim Siddha Satama Kasyavakuta Ayata Kasmadasya Nishedata Kim Deva Upadevaya Yuyam Kim Siddha Satama Kasyavakuta Ayata Kasmadasya Nishedata Kim Deva Upadevaya Yuyam Kim Siddha Satama Kasyavakuta Ayata Kasmadasya Nishedata Kim Deva Upadevaya Yuyam Kim Siddha Satama Kasyavakuta Ayata Kasmadasya Nishedata Kim Deva Upadevaya Yuyam Kim Siddha Satama Kasya, whose servants? Va, or Kuta, from where? Ayata, have you come? Kasmat, what is the reason? Asya, the taking away of this Ajamil. Nishedata, are you forbidden? Kim, whether? Deva, demigods. Upadeva, sub-demigods. Ya, who? You, yam, all of you. Kim, whether. Siddha Satama, the best of the perfect beings, the pure devotees. Translation approved by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Dear sirs, whose servants are you? Where have you come from? And why are you forbidding us to touch the body of Ajamil? Are you demigods from the heavenly planets? Are you sub-demigods? Or are you the best of devotees? Purport. The most significant word used in this verse is Siddha Satama, which means the best of the perfect. In Bhagavad Gita 7.3, it is said, Manushyanam sahasreshu kaschid yatati siddhaye. Out of millions of persons, one may try to become siddha, perfect, or in other words, self-realized. A self-realized person knows that he is not the body, but a spiritual soul, aham brahmasmi. At the present moment, practically everyone is unaware of this fact, but one who understands this has attained perfection and is therefore called Siddha. When one understands that the soul is part and parcel of the Supreme Soul, and one thus engages in the devotional service of the Supreme Soul, one becomes Siddha Satama. One is then eligible to live in the Vaikuntha planets or Krishna Loka. The word Siddha Satama, therefore, refers to a liberated, pure devotee. Since the Yamadutas are servants of Yamaraj, who is also one of the Siddha Satamas, they knew that a Siddha Satama is above the demigods and sub-demigods, and indeed above all the living entities within this material world. The Yamadutas therefore inquired why the Vishnudutas were present where a sinful man was going to die. It should also be noted that Ajamil was not yet dead, for the Yamadutas were trying to snatch the soul from his heart. They could not take the soul, however, and therefore Ajamil was not yet dead. This will be revealed in later verses. Ajamil was simply in an unconscious state when the argument was in progress between the Yamadutas and the Vishnudutas. The conclusion of the argument was to be a decision regarding who would claim the soul of Ajamil. Om Agyanatimirandasya Gyananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapada Kamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priya Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripasindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langayate girim yatkripatamaham vande Shri Gurum Dinataranam. The translation again. Dear sirs, whose servants are you? Where have you come from? And why are you forbidding us to touch the body of Ajamil? Are you demigods from the heavenly planets? Are you sub-demigods? Or are you the best of devotees? So in order to be able to get perfect knowledge and understand what is the highest aim of life, we need to find who is the supreme authority from whom to learn, who are the people who do have a knowledge, and who are the people who can take us to the ultimate destination in life. And this verse helps us to understand better. This Dr. Prabhu at times tells the story how Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he was traveling with his son Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati in a train, and Bhaktivinoda Thakur kind of went in a bit of a trance, or looked like, and then he was he kind of laughing or something? What happened there?
He said the town on the 16th Matthew where it was, and the day the 16th Matthew, he said, where were you?
Right. Yeah. So the Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati was still a young lad when this happened. He kind of went to the trance, and something happened there that Bhaktivinoda Thakur didn't reveal at that time. He said, "I will tell you when you are 16." So on the 16th birthday, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati came to Bhaktivinoda Thakur and said, "So what happened there? Can you tell me?" And Bhaktivinoda Thakur said, he went into this kind of trance, and he was traveling in the skyways of the universe. And there was a discussion. There was Lord Brahma, Shiva, and few others discussing one verse in Bhagavad Gita. And as Bhaktivinoda Thakur was passing by, they called Bhaktivinoda Thakur and said, "Can you come and explain to us this verse?" And that was the chief executive officers, CEOs of the universe. They called Bhaktivinoda Thakur for advice. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur is a pure devotee of the Lord, and he is a pure associate of Radha and Krishna. So there is no highest position, actually. Like here in this world, we're looking, whoever is got like a most wealth, whoever has got the most power, these are considered the people that are, very powerful and maybe to be followed by general mass of people. But actually, the greatest power is in the hands of those who have taken shelter of the most powerful one, of Krishna. So an externally may not be visible. One has to know the symptoms of who is truly powerful. Is not the truly powerful, like is not a person who is God, who is multi-billionaire, is not a person who has got the biggest house in a country, is not a person who has got the most, who is the most beautiful, or who is the most famous, or the strongest person. None of this, from the spiritual perspective of the highest understanding, none of these people are truly powerful, because their power is finished, is taken away by the power of time that is representative of Krishna. The beauty, the fame, even the fame fades away. There's so many, like there was this, due to the Black Lives Matters, that situation, some of the great generals that was considered famous, they were thrown into the river last year in some parts of the world. So what was considered fame at one point, and other time of the history goes upside down and becomes infamy. And who knows, the famous people of today, and some other things, like recently as well over the last few years, some great superstars of entertainment was considered almost like a demigods of the present day. Some nasty things came out from their history of how they behaved in their personal life, and some of the things would be considered almost criminal, that they would go into the jail, for a long time, but it kind of came out after they departed, and they would consider this is the great personalities, and it came out that they were not so great, and in fact, horrible, absolutely horrible, and even disgusting, some of the things that they did. So this is the fame is taken away by time, and the strength as well is taken away. The greatest people of the world, the most powerful, Mr. Universe, Mr. such and such with the gold medal, who become the strongest person in the Olympics and etc. The time is just taking away that strength and taking away. And knowledge, another thing. There's so many problems now and diseases that at the end of life offer you can it's due to lifestyle, of course. Bhagavatam explains so many things and diseases and etc. It's due to lifestyle that people chosen. So often at the end of life, the memory struggles and the knowledge that people sometimes are very powerful and intellectual and strong, the time can take away that too. And wealth as well, you can't take with you even a penny. No matter you're multimillionaire, you can't extend. No matter how much billions you have, you cannot extend your life even by a moment. Of course, you may have this most powerful doctor, but you cannot. The doctor cannot indefinitely extend your life. And some of the most powerful people as well go because of some sickness or heart attack, like who was speaking just over last couple of days with someone. Oh yeah, there's one student at University of Glasgow. He was saying that he's not after money, and he said one thing that convinced him. He went on holiday somewhere, and he saw this guy in a Ferrari, newest model, and he said the car was very, very attractive and really nicely looking. Of course, Ferrari attracts the eyes and the minds of the people. But they said the guy, he was in the suit and he was so tense and angry at his, Ferrari. We're supposed to be a pinnacle of, happiness. I got a Ferrari, for, I don't know how much it cost, 200,000 pounds or whichever. He was so tense and so angry at his thing that he put him off. That student was put off from going that direction. At all. He said, I don't ever want to be in this situation. He said, I really not after money. And so he's actually coming to our program on a weekly basis and showing a great interest. And actually, we met him on a book distribution in December and kind of kept friendship. And now he's like exploring, is actually most enthusiastic, I would say. Or three people actually are super enthusiastic in that program, and all Scottish people. So time and all those fame, all those different opulences is just taking and taking away, day after day, moment after moment, year after year, everything is taken away. So therefore, we as intelligent person looks into what is called Shreyas. Preyas means what I can get today. I wake up and how I can fill my belly today, and I fill my belly today, and I've eaten, then, I am happy. I don't care, what's gonna happen tomorrow. But intelligent person is looking into long-term benefit, and then that is considered intelligence. What is gonna happen in the long term? What is gonna happen at the time of death? Where I am going, what is my destination. So this is the knowledge that we're looking for, how we can become opulent, not just for a day, not just for a few months, how we can get opulence that it never leaves us, that it stays with us forever. That kind of opulence we want to gain. That's something that can perfect our life. And this is given this understanding of what is truly of great value. And that requires, some intelligence and some humility, is to actually hear and understand and to be open what is truly wealth, what is the most important thing in the world to be aspired for. Because those glittering things can be so attractive. Like I am coming from what it used to be considered World War country. Is kind of considered a little bit less now, but I guess it's still to some extent Field War country. And what Gorbachev did, he opened the borders for the people to travel to the West. So when they came in, it looks very, very glittering, those cars and the dress, and under Soviet Union, all the kind of style and fashion was exactly the same. The car models, year after year after year, it would almost completely the same, and the dress code completely the same, and they would release a new fashion every couple of years. So it was like, because there was no need to produce anything fancy. People just would buy it anyway. There was no need for competition, because people just go and buy whatever it is. So they were, is very, very glittering. It looked, in the West, that everything is fantastic, that people are just like happy, and because they have so much, cars and houses and opulences and etc. It just look very, 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 very glittering. So we can be misled by those external things, thinking that this thing is gonna make me happy, that is gonna give me that ultimate happiness that the soul is looking for. Is looking for that ultimate experience, is looking for that ultimate wealth and fame and love. Often people become enamored by this things that people just gonna love me. If I become famous, everybody will love me. Will become very strong, everybody will be after me. Will become wealthy. But people are not after you, but they after what you have. They become often envious. This is material world. When people come in touch with some value that you have, there'll be very, very few people in the material world who will honestly appreciate it. Either they they'll become envious of you and try to drag you down, or they feel this is the competitor of me. I want to get more wealth. I want to get more fame, or want to get more knowledge. In very, very rare occasions, because this is the age of Kali, that people would appreciate of what you have, because of in age of Kali, the mode of passion and this competitive spirit is very strong, and mode of ignorance is very prominent. That let me drag you down, so I feel better, that you are not in the same and not more advantageous situation as me. In very, very rare occasions, somebody will genuinely appreciate that you are better. And sometimes, there is equality movements and etc. And it's fair, and definitely fair enough. We need to strive for equality, but often that strive for equality is motivated to some extent, not in every situation, but sometimes it is motivated by envy. So let me bring a person who is in a higher position, bring it to my level. But the idea is that not to bring it to your level, but everybody rising. That is the goodness. That let us, all of us, rise to the higher status of life, and therefore we need to understand what is the highest thing, and the highest thing is to have a loving relationship with Krishna, a relationship that never ends. This is the greatest jackpot that is there, is to develop loving relationship with Krishna and to have a life, eternal life that never ends in a spiritual world. And we can understand that there is this existence by hearing from those who are experiencing that existence. It's not something phantasmagoria, theoretical. It's just some fairy stories and etc. You can have experience of that spiritual world from hearing from those who have experience of that spiritual world. This is the transparent via medium. The transition and experience of spiritual world, it happens through the hearts who are pure and who are also experiencing that spiritual world. Because when the heart is pure and free from anger, envy, greed, it becomes transparent via medium for the spiritual world to manifest, for Krishna to manifest in the heart, and becoming in touch with those who have it, with those who are called Siddha Satama, that these are the best of the perfect, who have this deep loving relationship with Krishna, we can also experience that spiritual world. And this is how the faith truly awakens in our heart, by the touch of transcendence coming from the mouths and the hearts of those who have bhakti, those who have a pure devotion, by that power of potency, sadhu sangha, then we are awakened. The seed of bhakti that is already there in the heart, it becomes watered and activated, and it starts sprouting, it starts shooting. So therefore, we need to choose our authority from whom we will hear, and you judge from whom to hear by by a certain symptoms. And one of the symptoms is not just jolly and happy today, not just jolly and happy this week, but or this month, but it's actually sustainable. This is such a big word nowadays, is sustainable. People understand that we cannot just live of this one day. We have to think how we can live in such a way that we are not exploiting the resources of the world, and how we can live in such a way that it sustains for generation after generation after generation. And the same principle applies for happiness. We need a happiness that are sustainable. If we base our happiness at the exploitation of the planet, at the exploitation of other people, at the expense of exploiting other people and making more and more billions, so you are, so-called happy, and at the misery of other people, working overtime, struggling, and with the small salaries and etc. That is not sustainable. So it requires a happiness that is not dependent on external circumstances, how much wealth and strength and fame you have, but the happiness that is coming from within. And it goes far beyond just a peace of mind, because some people say, okay, happiness is just to have no disturbance, because the mind is so disturbed in the stage of Kali. So when you get a little relief, when your mind is not disturbed for a few moments, then you think, this is real happiness. Now I am truly happy. And now I'm coping with my life very, very well, because my mind for a few minutes or a few hours is not disturbed. That is not happiness. This is just a small intermediate stage that is not truly an aspiration. But you will find in a lot of spiritual circles, meditation circles, if your mind is a little bit less disturbed, there's a little bit less of anxiety, you're having a little bit of break, you calm your mind down, and you're having a little bit of break, that is considered a true happiness. It is not happiness just to get a little relief. This is just the beginning. The true happiness is a lot more than not have a disturbance. It's considered the greatest happiness, and that is what Siddha Satamas will explain to you. The best of the best, and even the research now that entered, neuroscience has now researched that actually monks are the happiest people in the world, or people who practice spiritual life, that they are actually happiest people in the world, even scientifically speaking, not just looking into their face, or they may be claiming it, but it's now a scientific fact. If you're looking for true happiness, you should look into spirituality. You should go into spiritual direction, not just a peace of mind. Beyond the peace of mind, there is something very, very special that Siddha Satama says is actually a pure love and pure devotion. This is the highest aspiration according to the best of the perfect. There's many even people who are perfect. There's many people who achieve peace of mind, but above all of those, people who has got peace of mind are those who have pure love. And we have pure love. That is the greatest aspiration, and it goes beyond peace of mind. When you are acting out of love, you may not be necessarily peaceful. They maybe require some sacrifices to perform in order to achieve and please the object of love. And there may be some struggles and hard work necessary, and it may not be necessarily your mind is peaceful, but that strive to please the object of love is the greatest satisfaction that there is, even in material sense. You know, the mother really experiences this great joy of pleasing the child a lot more than, you know, just having a complete peace of mind. In due course of time, and maybe of course a struggle, but in due course of time, because of that struggle, the love becomes so strong and deep, and the attachment becomes very, very deep from mother to child. So the greatest aspiration that this best of the best people are saying, it is pure love. And we can accept it in the beginning, you know, theoretically, by hearing. Also, we can experience it by observation. There's a few different aspects that we can apply in our life in order to explore this idea that the greatest happiness to love is to have this pure love of Krishna and relationship that doesn't break at the time of death and is everlasting. So first is by hearing about this, we hearing from the scriptures, hearing from the saintly people. Then we can also intellectually analyze it, as we spoke. You know, looking at the people who are so-called happy now, and then, you know, their fame and strength and money, etc., is lost, and the happiness is over, either, you know, by some karmic circumstances or by you know, the time of death takes everything away. And also we can experience as well, you know, school of hard knocks. You know, a lot of people come to spiritual life after going through the school of hard knocks, chasing this mirage of these ideas of happiness, you know, hearing from one person, seeing, you know, this person has got this, I want to have this, another person has got this, I want to have this. You know, we are attracted by those different opulences that exist in the world, and we try to chase ourselves, and we get burned. You know, we don't get what we want, or if you get what you want more and more and more. So this is another learning by experience, school of hard knocks. That is not the best way, of course, but it can be helpful in certain stages on our life to bring us to the point that we become open to hear from Siddha Satamas. And then when we heard, you know, we had our own experience, we heard it, we analyzed it intellectually, then the next step is to apply, practically apply. Otherwise, it just all remains theoretical. And therefore, this Krishna consciousness is so wonderful that we are not asking anyone to believe it blindly. We don't say, you know, just accept it and hope for the best, you know, just be a good person and hope for the best at the time of death, you know, that you're going to go to heaven or something. No, we say you can experience the spiritual world in this very life. And in the beginning, as a glimpses of it, in chanting the holy name, in dancing, in hearing from saintly people, in contemplating and praying these 9 devotional processes by which we can experience Krishna in our life. So by practicing these 9 devotional principles, especially through chanting Maha Mantra, we can experience the spiritual world and prove it for ourselves. You know, nobody is brainwashing, nobody is just saying believe this blindly. Can say prove it for yourself, chant and prove for yourself, experience for yourself, but you have to do it properly. You have to learn the art, how to do it properly and fine tune it, keep fine tuning it. And even if you've been, you know, as well practicing it and experience spiritual world, as you're making steps forward in Krishna consciousness, you have to fine tune it in order to keep making progress. That means making the next step. You have to keep fine tuning it, the process, so you can remain connected and access, you know, these higher levels of Krishna consciousness. So are there any questions or comments about these points? Yes, Prabhu.
Some people may be very optimistic about material life, and they may think that we're painting a very pessimistic picture of it's like sour grapes because we couldn't succeed in material life, then nobody else can succeed as well, and that's why people become monks because they've failed to get it together in the material world. So how would we reassure people that wasn't the fact?
So even if you want to be successful materially, you cannot be breaking dharma. Dharma is scriptural injunctions of how to be successful even materially. If you want to have material success and you do it at the expense and exploitation of other beings and etc., that is not sustainable. It's going to fall apart either for the person who is now, it looks to be that they are enjoying, they're going to lose everything in due course of time, or they're going to lose in the next life. So even to be materially successful, you have to follow dharma, you have to follow scriptural principles, otherwise it's just not going to last. And also because the last principle, the last leg of religion in this age is truthfulness. There is some of that kind of still lingering. So often, there was times when the people who are like at the top, all the famous stars and etc., they would not reveal of some internal struggles that they are going through. It wasn't so much awareness, wasn't so much there of that actually they are struggling despite of their opulences. But there is more when more people are stepping forward and revealing their heart. Like recently, I saw an interview between Jay Shetty with Ghanshyam Priya Prabhu and Will Smith, who is considered, one of the most successful people. In terms of efficiency, he had almost every moment planned of his day. In terms of efficiency and effectiveness, he had, all his career planned. He did very deep research of what is the most successful movies. You find out the sci-fi, and then you find out various types of aspects, what it should be in a film in order to be successful. And he produced intellectually this super successful film that made him famous, Man in Black, I think it was the thing that, put him at the top. But, and he said that at that time he was super successful, and he was coming back home. The relationship were struggling with his in the family. They were miserable, and he was screaming at them, "Why are you not happy? You got everything. We have got fame. We got wealth. We got the best house. Why are you not happy?" So there is more and more people who are revealing that actually, that despite of all their fame and etc., they are not happy. But unless you find an alternative, you get into this program of chewing the chewed, because they don't find an alternative to this. Even they're not happy, they just keep doing the same thing, eating, sleeping, mating, and defending, and somehow another accepting, okay, this is the life is all about. You just have to be some misery. But some of them, they find some courage to actually explore. And Will Smith is actually now, Bhakti yogi. He's practicing Krishna consciousness. He's chanting, reading Bhagavad Gita, associating with devotees. Met Raghunatha Swami. He's a practicing devotee. Now he's had the courage to find the solution. So that's what we have to say to these people. Just look into the, your role model, whoever it is, whether it's beauty, whether it's fame, whether it's wealth, whether it's knowledge, whoever is your role model, use your intelligence. Look what those people are speaking about their experience of reaching that stage in their life. That's what you have to do. Look at what those role models are honestly speaking, and look at the other role models in the spiritual sense, what they are speaking, what the acharyas are speaking, what the pure devotees of the Lord are speaking, how they find the greatest happiness in their relationship with Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much for that. You see very often we see examples of like very successful. It's like they're not happy if there's no happiness there. Oftentimes we are speaking to other people it's like people a lot more intelligent people aren't aspiring for that huge wealth and fame. Maybe just one sort of small, nice family life, successful, meaningful job, care for the environment, do some nice, just charity work, then retire and do some nice things to make them happy. And you can see examples. I know like people like Will Smith may be suffering from, depression. There's lots of, there does seem to be, people who've had nice lives and are still happy. And so it doesn't seem so extreme.
Yeah, so then another thing. Thank you for a very good question. Even the simplicity of life, that's very, very difficult. I mean, even they say, okay, I live a more simple way of life, but there's still, people chasing for this newest iPhone and etc. So still that problem remains, that it's very difficult to simplify your life. In a lot of people who would try, and Prabhupada actually said, I read recently in his books, that in order to truly simplify your life, it's only possible through spiritual life, because otherwise you still feel lack of fulfillment. Like even in the climate change movement, it's actually a very, very small percentage of people who are prepared and able to live that more simple way of life. Others, the biggest problem in that climate change movement is that people don't want to change their habits because it's so addictive, those habits. People don't want to reduce their consumption because that consumption is considered, that what's something that is gonna make me happy, or is kind of filling that gap in the heart through the external consumption. So it's still quite rare to find the people that you are mentioning who are able to be happy just from that simple living. Over last good few decades since we moved from the agrarian economy and life become very complicated, is very, very few people who are able to live that simple way of life. But if you add Krishna consciousness to it, that takes the whole experience to the completely new dimension. And even if you are found, this, mode of goodness life, that you are able, why not to explore that we claim and we state, and that there is a lot more to that than this. And of course, this is our challenge now, is to exemplify it. And that's why we need ourselves to be very serious about Krishna consciousness, so we can exemplify this in our life, in our own life, so that people who even have, a certain material happiness that is kind of simple, they don't have much aspiration, they're growing things and living a simple way of life, that actually there is another dimension and level that you can experience if you add spirituality to that simplicity of life. Krishna consciousness, if we can add Krishna consciousness to this, simple life, because you have to find some happiness somewhere, even if you're living a simple life and you're kind of, satisfied to some extent, there is a lot more that Krishna consciousness promises. In fact, it promises a lot more beyond our expectation, any material expectation. And of course, we have to exemplify it. And there is nothing more convincing. Like there was this one saint that said that you should preach all the time, and sometimes you can even speak or say a few words as well. Which means, you can give this big lectures and etc., but we have to truly live it and exemplify it, and people will see it, they will sense it on a deeper level, even if they have, that nice life. When they come across something better, they will be open to explore it on a deeper level, but we do need to have it ourselves. So stop here. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Nitai Gaura Premanande. Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai.